Okay, so we'd like to welcome you to the Health Innovations Conference. We'll be having our formal opening soon. But in the meantime, we would like to take the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the Ugandan Academy for Health Innovation and Impact and why we feel the conference is important to us. So the Academy was established with an MOU between the Ugandan Ministry of Health, Infectious Diseases Institute, Janssen, the pharmaceutical companies of Johnson & Johnson, and the Johnson & Johnson Corporate Citizenship Trust. And the MOU was signed in 2015. So we're still quite young, but probably reaching our teenage years now. Okay, the vision of the Academy is sustainable healthcare accessible to all in Uganda. And the sustainability bit is very important because it means that any innovations we do need to have a sustainable aspect to them. We're not going for the high-tech, expensive things. We're looking at activities that are sustainable in the long term for our resource setting. Our mission is to improve health outcomes through innovations in a range of areas: clinical care, capacity building, health system strengthening and research. And our initial emphasis is on HIV and TB, and most of our foundation projects are in HIV and TB. We have a range of projects around the country. In the back of your notepads, if you want more information, there's a map of the districts that we work in. We have 6 clinical management projects, 6 research projects, and 2 capacity building projects with 3 PhD students. We have 8 sub-granted organisations around the country, both community-based organisations and national NGOs, and we've so far reached over 30,000 beneficiaries. We have a range of academy innovations, so the tabs in red are active ongoing projects. Our very first work and how we got started was in mHealth activities, which there's a presentation tomorrow by Dr. Agnes on one of our activities. There's a presentation tomorrow by Dr. Joanita, and there are some posters in the corridor on some of this work. And this was very much a co-project with Janssen Connect for Life activities that Janssen Global Public Health have. We've also started projects in low-tech solutions, so projects with some of our community-based partners, such as hygiene projects, washing shelters, hand-washing tools. We're working with the arts, and we are showcasing some of that work with our HIV exhibition in the gallery and some sessions tomorrow morning. And e-learning is a large component that we've been doing. Over the next coming year, we hope to be starting with our bioinformatics as per the conference. We hope to be launching a drones project and working with the team that are around today in some machine learning activities. So our pink is our kind of things that we're working on in development, and our white is possibilities for the future. So just a word on the HIV exhibition in the gallery. This will be formally open this afternoon in the tea break, but this comes from an exhibition we ran from the 1st of December 2018 in the Uganda National Museum, where we ran a history of HIV in Uganda through the years. Tomorrow morning, the session will talk a little bit about how the exhibition was designed. But we had over 2,200 visitors in the 2 months that we were open, bearing in mind we were closed for a couple of weeks over Christmas as well. We had a lot of students, nearly 1,000 students, and we ran HIV testing there as well. We thought that actually this would be an environment where people may test who hadn't tested before. And actually, unfortunately, we found 8 HIV positive people who've now been linked into care. It wasn't the main activity of the exhibition, but it goes to show that we can think of different ways of accessing people who may not be accessing testing. And so please do visit the exhibition in the gallery. There'll be guides to show you around. So this is just a slide of our various partners that we work with and our funders, and a lot of them hopefully you'll meet and network with over the next couple of days. And just to say thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the conference, and we have a hashtag if you would like to tweet about us. Thank you so much.
I'm extremely gratified to welcome you to the Health Innovations Conference 2019. Please join me in welcoming our guest of honor, who is also the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at Makerere University. Dr. Umaru Kakumba, you're most welcome. Your timing is perfect. I was just going to make a few remarks and review the program for the day. The Academy Director has highlighted the initial conference that we had last year. So this is the second Health and Innovations Conference, and the theme of this conference is Sustainable Health through the Fourth Industrial Revolution. That theme, I believe, begs the question, what is the Fourth Industrial Revolution? I will not give you a quiz on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, but perhaps I'll just quote a highly cited Canadian-American poet, William Gibson, who said, "The future is already here. It's just that it's not evenly distributed." As the Institute at Makerere, we're very proud about this contribution that we're making to the Academy for Health and Innovation by creating this platform for networking and challenging each other so that we can harness the technology and the industrial revolution that is happening right now. The future that is already happening in the Silicon Valley, in India, in Southeast Asia, and many other places. As the IDI, we are proud of the contributions we're making, and what makes us tick is the opportunities we have to protect individuals, families, and communities from the ravages of infectious diseases, so that they can live so that they can live up to the full potential of their lives. That's why the Institute is fully behind this platform, so that together, bringing academia, bringing entrepreneurs, and the private sector to really harness the opportunities we have to make a difference. As you know, the Institute is part of Makerere University, and that's why we're very pleased to have you, Dr. Kakumba, officiating at the opening of the ceremony. I believe the meeting will be an opportunity for Makerere to expand its network through the delegates. Dr. Kakumba, allow me to point out a few key stakeholders at this meeting. I'm pleased to let you know that we have a team that has traveled all the way from the United States of America. This team is from the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases of the National Institutes of Health. And the team is led by Dr. Michael Tatakowski, who is the Chief Information Officer. And I'd like to just ask him to take a bow so that we appreciate his presence. We also have we have board members from both the IDI board, but also the academic board. And we have Mr. Wilfred Brixwell, who's here on behalf of the IDI board, and Dr. Christine Ondoa, who's also here on behalf of the academic board. We have representatives from different academic institutions, Makerere, Mbarara University for Science and Technology. We have the private sector. And time will not allow us to recognize everyone, but I just thought I should highlight some of the key constituents who are here. Before I invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor to officially open the meeting, if I may refer you to the program, because I just want to reference some key highlights for this two-day meeting. The meeting has 3 tracks, which mirror some of the key goals and aspirations that we hope to glean from this meeting. There is a track on accelerating innovation, and we hope that the presentations in this track will create an environment where we appreciate the role of innovations and the need to accelerate those innovations. So that track is indicated in a light shade of yellow in your programs. Those of you who have great interest in this track, I'm pleased to inform you that you won't have to move away for that track. That track will be here in this very hall. The second track will focus on people, products, and processes. And this is in recognition of the fact that innovations by themselves will not translate into the better health outcomes that we seek. And so you need to think about the people who make these innovations and the processes that can allow them to make viable products. I'm also pleased to let you know that we have a track on bioinformatics, which is going to be greatly enabled by the team that has traveled from the United States. And you can see a blend of speakers, both local and delegates from abroad, who are going to talk about bioinformatics and emerging technology. And that track is highlighted in a shade of blue and will happen in the Addis Hall. So with that quick summary, you can see that we have activities for day 1 and day 2. And I will now move to the final part of my remarks, which is to really invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor. And before I invite him, I just want to point out that the Institute, which is part of the Makerere establishment, is keen to promote the strategic vision of Makerere, which, listening to the top leadership of the university, is moving toward a research-led university. So, Mr. Deputy Vice Chancellor, I hope as you appreciate the deliberations today, you will see that the IDI, as well as the Uganda Academy, are really pushing in the same direction with you by focusing on research and creating a research-led institution. Dr. Umar Kakumba, as I've mentioned, is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. He's fairly new in office. His scholarship is in the sphere of public affairs, and he's a graduate of the University of Pretoria and also Makerere University. Looking at his youthfulness, I think he will be a great advocate for the use of technology in health. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Umar Kakumba to officially open the meeting.
Yes, thanks very much, Dr. Kamku, the Executive Director, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in all your respective capacities. As generously introduced by Dr. Kamku, Umar Kakumba is my name. And I want to warmly welcome you on behalf of Makerere University and convey the welcome message from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, who ordinarily and naturally would have loved to be here this morning because of this very, very important conference. But for some reason, he had to fly to Toronto, Canada, where he has some other engagements. But all the same, I'm here as part of the bigger network of Makerere University. But first and foremost, I want to welcome the guests from the United States, the National Institute of Health. And I also want to take the opportunity to welcome the different partners that are collaborating with the Infectious Disease Institute and also the Uganda Academy. I also want to take recognition of the board members of the IDI and your Honorable Christine Ondoa, the board member of the Academy, and our former Minister of Health and Public Employment, and all the different colleagues I can see in the audience. Protocol may not enable me to stretch to every individual stature and recognition. But allow me to say that I take cognizance of your presence and for your valuable time that you are according to the IDI and the Academy and Makerere University in general. So first and foremost, I just want to echo the message that Dr. Kambugu was giving linking this conference, linking it to the bigger innovations that this country is striving for, but also I'll stretch it a little further to the global needs today. You can agree with me that issues of health and issues of innovation are so critical to human development and national development across the spectrum. It's a global issue. If I take you a little bit, Makerere University's innovation, Makerere University's mission and vision. The vision strives to be a leading institution of excellence, a leading academic institution of excellence and innovations on the continent. Now, the word innovation is a catchphrase there. Now, when you go to the mission of Makerere University, Makerere strives to provide innovative teaching, learning, and services that respond to national and global needs. Now, talk about innovations, talk about services. Now, that blends harmoniously well with the themes, the critical themes, and the whole purpose and mission of this second conference. So I want to appreciate the innovative way that the Academy and the IDI have thought it fit to again host and arrange this second conference. So this conference being hosted by the Uganda Academy for Health Innovation and Impact, which is a project definitely within the IDI, and which is also part of Makerere University. I am aware that the IDI, the bigger network of the Academy, was established in 2015 from Anemo between the Ministry of Health of the Uganda government, which is our sector ministry when it comes to health issues, the IDI, the Janssen, the pharmaceutical companies of Johnson & Johnson, and the Johnson & Johnson Corporate Citizenship Trust. The Health Innovations Conference is an annual event which started last year in 2018, and this year I'm glad that the theme that you have highlighted, which is sustainable health for all, harnessing the fourth industrial revolution, blends harmoniously well, very, very well, with the global needs and the sustainable development goals. So you cannot be doing anything that is out of the way. You are talking about the fourth industrial revolution. We have had a lot of changes across the world, but the challenges that we find that we meet in the health sector and the increasing need for extending services cannot be underestimated. So whichever way, through research, through innovations, through innovative ways that can provide that critical service to our humanity, to the well-being of the critical resource that every nation stands for, the human nature, the human side of enterprise, can never be underestimated. So I want to thank you very much. I want to laud your effort, the IDI and the Academy, and our partners who are moving all the way to come to attend this conference. So harnessing the fourth industrial revolution is genuine, is real, and I'm glad to learn that this year's lineup has numerous exciting presentations and demonstrations, workshops, and the latest innovation trends in health that will also address best practices, methodologies, concepts, all of these centered around the four main tracks that Dr. Kambugu has highlighted here. Accelerating innovations into practice. Today it's a world of innovations. The world is moving to a very, very fast trend. Today, the innovative ways of providing health services, to our vulnerable communities is important. It's very, very, very important. The use of ICTs, the use of networks around the villages are very, very, very critical. So I'm glad, I'm very, very excited about these themes. No people left behind, indeed. No tech and the last mile. Very, very, very captivating themes, and I'm sure the presentations will be very, very exciting and also opening the frontiers of knowledge for all of us here to appreciate the humanity and the good opportunity that the good Lord gave us. Those of us who have the knowledge, we have a gift that we owe to the humankind that God has created. Those of us that have resources, we owe it. Just like you and me, We are individuals, we are born. Just like institutions. Institutions are born like human beings. We are born. Institutions must be nourished. They must be fed. They must have health in order to grow. If they are not taken care of like human beings, like you and I, like our children, they will become malnourished, they get sick, and they can die. Institutions die. Sometimes you have heard of institutions that have ever existed with very, very global brand names, and they die. When their founders and those that championed their existence either die or become incapacitated, companies will wind up an institution. But the point I'm driving home is that what is the relevance of having accumulated all of resources and you build strong institutions, and they are there, and then they are not touching the bigger humanity and mankind. So institutions have an obligation, like us individuals, to reach out to humankind. And what you are doing in this conference and everything is a very great opportunity as a way of giving back our wider communities that are in great need. I take this opportunity to thank the Academy, along with the Andela Uganda, who are spearheading the public hackathon around technology for all. Okay, no one left behind. The Andela IDI Health Hackathon, the Andela IDI Health Hack is bringing together texts from both Andela and the wider tech ecosystem with health professionals for 17 hours non-stop. Okay, hacking. So the aim of the hackathon is to create mobile-based solutions around sustainable health for all, with the winning teams receiving awards from the IDI. I'm very, very thankful to you for creating these awards as a way of creating inspiration. Okay. And I'm also aware that the conference is going to showcase the establishment of a bioinformatics center in Uganda, facilitated by the National Institute of Health, National Institute of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, in collaboration with the research institutions in Africa, the private sector companies, and the Foundation for the NIH. And this unit is provisionally named the African Center of Excellence, and today the language is about African Centers of Excellence. Because you must excel, that's why I had to recast Makerere's vision, which has that word, excellence. The mission that has that catchy word, innovations. You want to provide innovative teaching. Innovative teaching cannot be barrier for research. It cannot be barrier for innovations. Okay, and creativity, because the world is moving. And a lot of global challenges, as the technologies are coming our way, helping us, they also come with a lot of challenges. Okay. So innovative ways are very, very, very fundamental. So I am glad that the African Centers of Excellence in Bioinformatics, and we are looking forward to see this happening in Uganda, in Africa, and around the world. The first of its kind in the region, and based at the Institute-Makerere. Of course, the Center of Excellence will be the Center for Computational Biology and Big Data Analysis. I'm also aware that the climax to the health innovations will come a long way with the conference, and the African Center of Excellence will officially open to the faculty, to the students, to the researchers on the March 21st. It is therefore very, very essential to note that the conference is graced by numerous esteemed speakers. I'm also aware of just a few of those that have been introduced. I'm also aware that the conference is graced by numerous speakers, such as the Kwame Rugundas, the Chairman Blockchain Association, our leading innovators in this country in providing health services. I'm aware of Dr. Ian Clark. He is one of those people who have really invested heavily and selflessly to supporting the enterprising, the entrepreneurship in this country. He's an entrepreneur, he's an innovator, but he's also a health practitioner. Okay? And he's also been everything. So when I hear Ian Clark being part of You know, despite his accomplishments, being the chairperson of the Ian Clark group of companies, I'm also aware of Michael, who has been introduced, and the Chief Information Officer of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease Institute, with your team that you have led, and also the Andela CTO, David Clare, and everybody, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you are ready to have the minds being blown away. Okay, but when they are blown away, the minds should again come back together to continue thinking through on how to extend innovative services, okay, that our humanity, that our communities out there need. So I want to wish you very, very successful dialogue and engagement. I continue to thank the IDI, the Janssen, okay, the pharmaceutical companies of Johnson & Johnson, who have been very, very generous, extremely generous and kind, okay, with their support to the academy, and in turn boosting the image of Makerere University. I cannot thank you anymore. My docket, my mandate as Deputy Vice Chancellor in charge of academic affairs, I also oversee research. Now research has become the end factor of production. Because everything you need to know, we have known the traditional factors of production in terms of land, in terms of labor, in terms of entrepreneurship. But all of this, the pivot around which everything centers is research. Because through research we get innovations. We got solutions. You can have your land, but if you don't have research and information, because research will give you the information. And then you will have to appreciate the value of your land, that, oh, my land, if I cultivated some crops, this kind of crops will give me a bigger yield and a bigger income. Now that is information, that is research. So research cuts across. It's a pivot, like I've said, that centers around which everything rotates, the development need, the development agenda for our nations, rotate around research. You cannot talk about innovations outside the shadows of research. Now, I'm speaking to research because I know that is my docket as DVC, but I also know a lot of work that the IDEA is doing. I know a lot of work that the academy is investing in, the different groups and communities it is reaching out, and so on and so forth. So more thanks definitely goes to the Centers of Disease Control and the Prevention, the Center for Disease Control CDC, for their continued support, to people living with HIV/AIDS, and in Uganda through the PEPFAR program that has been championed by the Presidential Initiative of the United States. But also special thanks go to the board of the directors and secretariat of the Academy for growing this network of collaborators. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank you indeed. I want to thank you so much for having invested your time, your resources towards reaching out to the valuable community in the realm of health services. So with those few remarks, it's now my singular honor and privilege to open the second annual conference, okay, for health innovations under the theme that we have highlighted and which is catching up the fourth industrial revolution. I thank you very much for listening to me.
So my name is Kwame Rugunda, and we run a technology company called Crypto Savannah, which focuses on building blockchain solutions. So I'm here to speak about 4IR in general, and I'll touch briefly on blockchain. The way we will discuss today is essentially three things. The first, we'll speak about what is 4IR. What does it mean for the health sector? And I will as well speak briefly about Africa. And then finally, I'll speak about blockchain, which is the area in which we work more. Now, the first speaker said that they won't talk a lot about 4IR. So it is my privilege to speak a little bit more about it. This gentleman is a face that many of us will recognize. Professor Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. It is the school of thought that produced the ideas around the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And as a history, we have heard about the previous industrial revolutions. So it's critical that we have some context in this conversation. The first industrial one was the era of the steam engines, which we have all heard about, made in our history. The second was when electricity literally lit up the world, and society transformed significantly then. And when each of these industrial revolutions happen, they create fundamental disruption in the way our human society progresses. They introduce fundamentally new dimensions. And now another major disruption is upon us, which is the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And the previous speaker was saying that he'll likely live to see the fifth. We hope to be there as well. Now, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is particularly unique due to its speed, breadth, and depth of changes. And it's affecting more people faster than ever. But let me just add this, because of the fact that we are in Africa, and we are speaking about the previous industrial revolutions. Oftentimes, nations have certain unique advantages that enable them to get ahead. And that's what we saw with the first industrial, the second, and the third. These advantages have helped Europe particularly conquer the world. The advent of the steam engines and the industrial revolution put Europe in a very unique place. But what is happening today is that at the Fourth Industrial Revolution, we are all at the starting point. This is important to remember. One of the effects of the Third Industrial Revolution is that the internet has made knowledge ubiquitous. Anyone, anywhere can today learn anything. This is so important. Earlier on, it was said that the first speaker was mentioning how there are hotspots globally, like Silicon Valley and the Far East, which are now at the advance of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. But there's no reason why on that list of Silicon Valley and the Far East we cannot add Kampala and Nairobi. And that is because knowledge is abundantly available. And this is where we clap, by the way. Because we can add Kampala and Nairobi to that list. So therefore, the beauty about the Fourth Industrial Revolution is that we are all at the starting line. There's no one who has significant advantage, and knowledge is abundantly available and ubiquitous. Therefore, what I mentioned earlier about Makerere University is among the advantages that we have. And just before I move on, it's also worth adding that some of the things we have already seen with mobile telephony, especially over the last few years, mobile telephony and more so mobile money, are evidences of this, where the legacy systems were leapfrogged. And that's what knowledge enables, and we can do the same with the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And this is it in summary. In the 1700s, we had Industry 1.0, which is what we're speaking about, mainly the steam engine and power. In about 1870, Industry 2.0 arises with the assembly lines and so on. And then we have Watson and the rest inventing the light bulb. Industry 3.0, automation, which really began in the late 1960s, early 70s. And we all remember what the internet did, starting in the late 80s and the 90s. And now, Industry 4.0, which is where we are, and which is why we are gathered here, which speaks about a confluence of technologies that are now fusing the lines. They are blurring the lines between technology and humanity. I had an opportunity to visit a conference, to attend a conference in California. And the keynote speaker for this conference, the opening address, was given by a robot. Sophia the robot. And I wasn't so sure what to make of this speaker. Because this speaker was discussing issues of life, issues of God, of love, of history. I mean, the things that we discuss every day. This speaker was demonstrating emotions. So we're taken quite aback. And I began thinking to myself, I want to invite this speaker to Uganda. So I was wondering, do they need an airline ticket, a visa? These machines, do they need to pass through URA? You know, all sorts of things were crossing my mind. But those are the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution. And that is where we as a human race need to really devote a lot of our time. Industry 4.0 includes a series of technologies: artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D printing, blockchain, which is the area I specialize in, drone technology, IoT. This is a very big deal, and it's particularly important in the health sector. So is drone technology. Big data, there's a lot of work going on in big data analytics, quantum computing, bioinformatics, and much more. And it's great, I had it being mentioned earlier about the launch of the bioinformatics center. What does this 4IR mean in the health sector? Some of the aspects, or some of the more featured components have been IBM Watson and Google X. IBM Watson being a famous, well-known series of systems that are pulling together all sorts of information about us and are impacting the health sector greatly. So what does 4IR mean for our sector as health practitioners? I can highlight 3 things that come to mind. The first is around disease management. The second, we're seeing it influencing or actively involved in the aging of society, and also around discovery of new medical innovations. We've all seen the work that is going on with genomics, and all sorts of things in that area, things which are bordering on ethical issues. So there's a lot that is happening here. With disease management, embedded in our own daily lives, we have all sorts of gadgets. Internet of Things is largely about the fact that all these devices that we have with us today emit information. They have transmissions that they emit. And the amalgamation of these things gives so much information about us as human beings. One of the projects that we've been doing in town has been around mobility data, where traffic lights and junctions that have been repaired recently you can do monitoring and evaluation of them just based on the number of cars that are going through. And you can establish the number of cars that are going through because of the devices that are emitting transmission signals. So there's so much that is going on. Our own homes, people enter their houses these days, and there are all sorts of devices transmitting signals, whether it's television, whether it's fridges. So all that information is called Internet of Things. And it has great impact in the way medical technology can be advanced. So whether it comes to people needing to take their medication, the sensor devices in homes are now proving to be very helpful in being able to inform and guide patients on the times that they need to take their medication. Caring for aging populations using robots and drones. This is another relatively famous one that has also gotten quite some coverage. We've seen devices in homes that are now delivering drugs for people to take. And then big data and biotech, there's also a lot of work here. In Africa in particular, the image on the right is more common. We have seen this happening already. Zipline in Rwanda and many other places is relatively common, delivering blood and health services. But what impressed me was just this week when I looked in the press and I saw this image on the right. The first surgery happening, it was a middle ear operation using a transplant made from 3D printed bones. And this happened in Pretoria, in South Africa. So there's a lot already going on in the context of 4IR and the health sector on the continent. We need to know we must harness these components in our local contexts. And that's why I'm very impressed at Makerere and the AI program, because they're taking local contexts of health, of agriculture, our real issues we deal with here in society. Let me speak briefly about blockchain, and I'll rush because of time. A blockchain is essentially about record keeping and data management. That's its major contribution in this fourth industrial revolution. The internet enables for transfer of information electronically. What blockchain enables is for transfer of value electronically. And this is why these things called cryptocurrencies had a huge buzz. Because this thing of value can now be transferred from one party to another. And in that case, value has been money. But more than just money, there's various other forms of value that can be transferred. Health records is a critical definition of value. Contracts is a critical definition of value. So historically prior, value could not be exchanged electronically, securely, peer-to-peer. But today it can, thanks to blockchain. And as a quick example, blockchain is what they call a distributed ledger. The way traditional ledgers have worked, and I'm going to hurry up. In this illustration, you have two banks and two customers. The way ledger systems work, and I want you to think about this from the health record perspective. The way ledger systems work is that of those four parties, each party has a copy of their ledger. This is what is very important. Two banks, two customers. Traditionally, each party keeps a copy of their ledger. Each institution today, where you work, where we are all affiliated with, keeps a copy of their ledger. What blockchain does instead, it says no. And this is the major disruption. Rather than a centralized ledger keeping system that we have known historically, it is now a distributed ledger system, where rather than each of the four parties having a copy of their ledger, all parties have a copy of the same ledger. And any change in the ledger of either party is seen by all parties. And this is what is truly revolutionary. And because of this, so much more can be done. It is this, we held a large blockchain conference last year, and the head of state was able to decipher what blockchain is. And he pointed out something so important about this technology. It is able to remove opaqueness in business and replace it with total transparency. So various sectors have been affected by transparency, by visibility, by security. Anything that is wrought with those issues, fraud and so much more, blockchain has proved to be very relevant. In terms of the health sector, blockchain is mainly being used on data arising from treatment, how it's processed and how it's stored, as opposed to the actual process of treatment or prevention. It is on management of that information that is gotten. We live in a world where gold or oil are no longer a standard, but data is being defined as the new oil. Therefore, management of data, particularly health data, is critical. Data efficiency is a major value add, as well as security. We may recall the breach that happened in the NHS system in the UK, or in Singapore's health system, where over 14,000 records went public, which was quite unfortunate. And in the UK, we saw that NHS, WannaCry was the name of the spam software that hit it, that spread into about 150 countries, distributing health records. And it was very, very unfortunate. So management of health data is critical here. And so efficiency as well is another area that greatly benefits from blockchain. And the way we as a company are working in the health sector in particular, aside from these areas, is that we actually have a proof of concept going on with one of the major health organizations in our country, where we are working to ensure tracking and tracing of drugs from source up to the time that it is picked by us in pharmacies. So I'm giving you a quick overview of the health sector, of 4IR, and of blockchain. I hope it has been informative, and may you take this knowledge and do more with it. And thank you.
Very good. All right, so thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and it's exciting to be here to represent the Global Digital Health Network. I'm the co-chair, and it's great to be back here, particularly in Uganda, which has a actually rich and storied history in the digital health and mobile health space. So in a brief time, I'll try to give a bit of an overview of what's going on in digital health and look forward to the discussion and the rest of the conference. Thank you. So first off, what is digital health? There are a number of definitions that are out there. This is one from the Broadband Working Group on digital health. And essentially, it's the intersection of mobile health, thank you, the intersection of mobile health and health information systems. So using things like mobile phones, tablets, and computers to provide healthcare and provide information. So whether this is information to clients, whether this is information to health professionals, looking at using ICTs to improve health services, and then using health information systems to manage and collect, distribute data, just like we've heard. So why are we doing this? We like technology, it's very exciting, people get excited about these new shiny objects, all these things we can do with this technology, but we're still trying to address a lot of the challenges that are facing health systems globally. So we're looking at challenges of information, access to information, access to the right information, access to the information at the time that you need it as an individual or as a healthcare practitioner. Availability of services, availability of medicines, availability of being able to connect to someone that you need to speak to get help. Challenges around quality, poor quality of experiences, poor quality healthcare, poor quality of medicines. Acceptability, making sure that the services that are provided are actually acceptable to those populations we're trying to reach. Utilization, making sure that the services that are there are actually being utilized. Efficiency, cost, and accountability. So making sure that not are we only providing these services, but we're accountable to those people for whom we're providing these services, and making sure that we're meeting their needs. So just to follow a new taxonomy that kind of helps explain the digital health space. And this is a relatively new taxonomy that breaks things out generally across 4 domains. So one is using digital health to reach clients. So things like self-service information around various health needs and challenges. Also around reminders for adherence and appointments. A lot of work around for healthcare providers, trying to give them the tools and information they need to be able to provide healthcare to their clients. E-learning, things like this to improve their skills. Then tools to work on to support health systems managers. Supply chains, making sure they have the ability to see what's going on at hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of health facilities at once. And then increasingly, and this 4th domain that was just touched on is around data. So we've gone from having a few devices, providing services and collecting things, to now a domain that specifically looks at now what to do with all this data. So looking at data analytics, looking at interoperability, ways for these systems and these tools to actually talk to each other. So this helps to highlight these 4 domains that which digital health is really serving. So I'll go through a very, very brief history. I'll do my best. Where we've been in digital health. So I'd say really about 10 years ago, we were at the proof of concept stage. There were these mobile phones, there were these smartphones, they were $800. It was very exciting. And if you could get an app, something to happen on a phone, that was so exciting. And you'd say, oh, we can do this, and we could see, now can we get anyone to use it? And we could find a community health worker or a doctor or a nurse somewhere that could actually use an application on a phone to provide some sort of health service. And so that was really exciting. And then we grew from there to say, well, now let's pilot these. Let's see what can happen. What kind of results can we get? And we got really excited about the pilots. We got so excited about the pilots that we had pilotitis. We had so many pilots because they were disconnected and we were innovating for the sake of innovating, perhaps. Then we said, well, that's great. These things are small, but we need to take them to the top. We need to take them to scale so we can have impact. So we scaled things up. We scaled things up sometimes maybe a little bit too fast. Things that were not actually connected to other systems. Things that didn't have the supporting processes and governance in place around them that needed to support and sustain them. So we shifted the thinking to enterprise thinking and providing the building blocks that these health information systems can actually ride on. We're moving now from electronic health into intelligent health, being able to use things like artificial intelligence and machine learning to make better sense of this data that we're collecting. And so the challenge that we're also facing now is balancing scale, the need to scale some of these proven solutions with innovation, and ensuring that we're still not leaving people behind who may not have access to the same services and network coverage and tools that everyone else does. So another way of looking at this is to use the well-loved or maligned, depending on how you're looking at it, Gartner hype cycle for technology. So just to show in the beginning, here we were just getting a few things on phones and we were very excited and people were giving me money to put things on phones and expectations are rising and rising and there was a lot of money being spent and things weren't working. Health outcomes were changing a little bit, but not for what we were seeing. And so we were sinking down into the trough of disillusionment. So much money had been spent, so many things had been tried, and yet the change that we were hoping to see wasn't there. I think now we're moving to the slope of enlightenment, really where a number of these tools and techniques that have been out there for some number of years are in their 3rd, 4th, 10th generations. They've been improved quite a bit. There's a lot of work around toolkits and frameworks on how to use digital health in global health. There are standards and interoperability frameworks being developed. There's much more collaboration. This idea that one single solution is going to conquer the world isn't happening. Even the examples of Google that were cited in Google before this, they tried to work in health and they folded and failed. And so there's still a role for many different partners and many different perspectives. There's been a focus on global goods, developing some of these digital health tools and systems that can be adapted and reused in multiple contexts. And also move to productization so that things can be easily taken off the shelf and customized to work in different environments. So here's a famous example from, as I mentioned, from here from Uganda around pilotitis. This is one of the big examples in digital health around 2010, 2011. There were so many pilots, so much innovation happening in Uganda, but it wasn't being done in a sustainable way. So a great example of leadership and governance, the Ministry of Health stepped in and said, hey, we need to put a stop on things. We need to make sure that things are being done in the proper way, not just a variety of implementing partners running around innovating for innovation's sake. So we developed some of these tools and frameworks like the Principles for Digital Development to try to put a better framework around how we can use digital health and digital development. So making sure that we're understanding the ecosystems, designing for scale, not just having small pilots that have no hope of scaling. Reusing and improving, trying to make sure we're learning from what's been done before and then seeing how we can improve or adapt that. Making sure we're addressing privacy and security. We heard about data breaches. This is a serious issue. And then being collaborative, using open standards. All of these have a place to guide us as we go forward. One of the recent developments that's come out in the last year, following up on these principles for digital development, is the donor investment principles, or the principles for donor alignment and investing in digital health, which reinforces a number of these things, but is also designed to bring some alignment for those who fund digital health to help ensure that they are espousing these same principles. So looking again at collaboration, investing in national plans, not just bringing in your own innovation, but actually supporting the national plans in these areas where we're trying to work. Tracking and measuring what's going on, strengthening the skills of the health systems, of the funders, and ministries of health to utilize these tools. Make sure that we're improving the country's capacity to support these innovations. And making sure that, and speaking from the Global Digital Health Network, and this is something that we're fairly passionate about, making sure that we're sharing information and peer learning so that these learnings from these implementations, both about what has worked very well, but also about what hasn't worked well, can be shared in a safe space so that we can continue to maximize these scarce resources that we're trying to use to improve health outcomes. So Uganda, it's a privilege to be here, so I wanted to highlight just a few things from Uganda, but it's representative of where the space is moving. We moved from pilotitis to e-health strategies and in national e-health pillars, organizing how e-health will be implemented. Not these fragmented pilots, but a very well-structured plan moving forward on how these tools can be utilized to support the Ministries of Health goals. And specifically going from, again, those fragmented pilots that may or may not have talked to each other to a series of reference systems that can communicate with each other using interoperability and making sure that then data may be captured once and then shared in many places, to improve the efficiencies of the health information systems. So just to highlight some of the resources that are out there, another tool that's come out recently is the WHO Digital Health Atlas, which is a catalog or repository of digital health programs that are going around the globe. We've also had a World Health Assembly resolution from the WHO around around digital health, which has been an exciting time for us in this last year. So this urged member states to prioritize the development and greater use of digital technologies in health, urging WHO to develop a global strategy on digital health to support the scale-up of these technologies in countries. So digital health is now going quite mainstream. Even recently, I think this was 2 weeks ago, WHO just announced a reorganization among many things, but they did establish an office specifically of digital health. They also established a division of data analytics and delivery, highlighting the importance of this data and making sure that we're providing good guidance on how it can be utilized. So just a few of the key challenges, and I know we'll be discussing this throughout the conference, but we need to make sure that we are ensuring that this technology can help us close and not widen the gaps in gender, in the urban-rural divide, and in network coverage, those who may not have access to the network. We still have challenges with lack of unique identifiers. As we were talking about some of this interoperability and sharing data across systems, this is still a challenge. Power, believe it or not, as we're talking about the Industrial Revolution, access to power is still a limitation in some areas. And then as we get into data, it's tremendously exciting to see all the power of the analytics that is available and to see that all these years we've spent trying to collect data and driving around in vehicles on dusty roads trying to collect the paper and aggregate it and get it together. We're at a point now where data is available at the push of a button, at your fingertips. And yet, in many contexts, we're still struggling to have good data use. Sometimes this data is being collected and it's still not being used. We also have issues with data quality. The data is coming in electronically, it's much more timely, but there are still a lot of challenges and questions about the quality of that data. And particularly in this age of artificial intelligence and machine learning, where we are feeding vast amounts of data into algorithms to help us make decisions, to help us identify opportunities, we still have some work to do to make sure that the quality of that data that's feeding into that is at a good level so that we can help get good recommendations. And another challenge with innovations and digital health in particular is there's always this question of, how much is this going to cost? This is so expensive. But I think we also really need to shift our thinking. We need to think about what is the cost of status quo, and we need to move to how much can we save, whether it's in better quality care or efficiency or speeds of service. So with this, I'd just like to say thank you. I highlighted a few different networks that I encourage you to take a look at: the Global Digital Health Network, look at the Digital Health Atlas, the African Alliance of Digital Health Networks, the Asian eHealth Information Network, and the Health Data Collaborative. And there are many more, but there's a huge wealth of information that's out there. So here's my contact information to stay in touch, and I'd like to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So good morning. I'm Brian Woodfall. I guess I am the first physician speaking. I guess it's the appropriate physician. Which I think just goes to show that healthcare, of course, is a conglomeration of all kinds of stakeholders. It certainly isn't the old model of physician-driven. I'm also not going to have an IT problem because I have no slides. That's why I guess why I'm filling in. My prepared remarks are tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about innovation across projects, programs, and people within Janssen, a comprehensive look. And I guess it was a coincidence when I look at the program, there's actually a track called Programs, Projects, and People. So we were all thinking along the same thing, which I think means that those are really critical and important themes within innovation for healthcare. Certainly for pharmaceutical industries like ourselves, and I head up infectious diseases and global public health from an R&D perspective, the level of innovation that's required is increasing exponentially to bring not just drugs or products, but healthcare solutions, and those that will have an important impact on the outcomes. And so that level of innovation has increased dramatically. If you look at the third revolution, which I just learned about 10 minutes ago, but when I was thinking about it, I think that pharmaceutical companies were really at the cutting edge in that third revolution of the type of technology and the type of science that's being applied. In this fourth revolution, not really any longer. We still do some things in a very archaic way now that I think about it. When we screen for new drugs, in some cases, we have a target, an enzymatic target, and we'll take a library of 1 million compounds, 1 million different molecules that are all stored in little cabinets in some basement in one of our buildings, and we will run that across that enzyme trying to get a hit. You can imagine how archaic that is as a way. And we're moving more and more to rational drug design, to using big data, to using machine learning, to try and identify targets in a much more systematic and rational way, and to be able to design drugs that will be safer and more effective. And we're adding that into the coming trend of personalized medicine. Because we certainly realize that over many of our treatments that, in fact, we give too much drug to many individuals in order to make sure that some individuals get enough drug. And that's actually not a very good way to do it in terms of the long run. So we are looking at more and more personalized ways, using genetic markers and using tailored and targeted therapies. So the level of innovation and the partnerships that we have to, that we will be entering into. So pharmaceutical groups now are certainly linking into those big data generators. We have partnerships with Google, with Apple, and so on, are going to be really critical for the future of the pharmaceutical industry. So it is a completely new era that we're moving into, the fourth generation, maybe the fifth at some point, revolution. But as a pharmaceutical industry and an important stakeholder in healthcare and in outcomes, we certainly want to be there and be partnering with others, such as yourselves at this conference. So we're very happy to be here, to be part of it, and to be a sponsor of the Academy as well.
So the topic that I want to talk about is how technology enables better science. I'll skip through this, just say a few words about NIH, how important the global research for us is. In fact, NIH Director Dr. Francis Collins and NIH Director Dr. Fauci always talk about the importance of global health and how vital it is for the healthcare in the world, which is evident in a couple of publications in Science here. We are from the Infectious Diseases Institute, and this map is actually started by Dr. Fauci many years ago, when he started identifying where the diseases are in the world. And over the years, these emerging and re-emerging diseases keep popping up all over the globe. Okay, but I'm a technologist by trade, you know, and I'm always joking. My wife is a physician, I'm a technologist, it doesn't qualify me, it certainly qualifies her, okay? But what we're hearing and what we're seeing today is a very interesting trend, where the biomedical of the 21st century is changing, and actually computation is becoming more and more a laboratory tool. The same way as classical laboratory instruments that were perceived like advancing science for generations, now computation is the same too. The new technologies are disruptors. The speakers before me talked about many of them. Again, I'm certainly not going to talk about the biotech. I'm not qualified to talk about biotech. But on our track for this conference, we will go deep into those technologies that heavily depends on the computing, computers like genome imaging, genomic sequencing, and direct computing technologies that changing the science as well as the healthcare, as Internet of Medical Things, high-performance computing, and so on. We'll go do a deep dive into those technologies during our track. Since about 2005, 2006, I'm putting this in virtually every presentation that I give, you know, to the different communities. The main point that I've been trying to deliver to people over the years is you need to realize, and this is fourth industrial revolution, I guess, that there are no non-computational disciplines left, period. Okay, I used to say in science, then I removed the words in science because there is no non-computational disciplines, period. Even art today, with the exception of still some good artists who actually can paint, is digital now. So when you start looking even at what's happening with the Nobel Prize here, look at the most recent Nobel Prizes that were awarded. How many of them are technology related? The one that I always like to highlight is in 2013, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, was basically given for the creation of the new powerful programs to understand and predict chemical processes. And they were just saying computer today is just as important tool for chemists as a test tube. Simulations are so realistic that they predict the outcome of the traditional experiments. That is what we do in many cases at NIH. We do a lot of simulations here, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on. Things that are driving a changing landscape, the speakers before me mentioned this. One of this is the Internet of Medical Things. Okay? Who, even 5 years ago, would have imagined that the simple watch that you're wearing today can collect so many data points for you, can contribute so much for your daily well-being, tracking some small daily activities as sleep, your heart rate, and so on, and hence now it can do an EKG. But new sensors are coming and developing each and every day. The market for this Internet of what we call medical things is expected to reach over $158 million by 2022. But it's not only smart devices, wearable devices that we consider to be Internet of Medical Things. There are constantly new, different type of scanners, different type of tools that are getting more and more affordable in the daily healthcare operations, and therefore require tremendous amount of compute to get and understand that data. Blockchain. I'm no expert as you are in the blockchain, but blockchain provides a new significant capability in the healthcare research. 5G is completely changing the landscape of how the data from those biomedical devices will be communicated back to the cloud, back to the centralized databases, and how fast that data will be able to be analyzed and recommendations given back to the healthcare providers. One of the areas where we to a degree struggling is the culture of the data sharing. NIH is implementing variety of the program, and for those who attend Biotech Track, you will hear from Andrea Norris, Director of the Center for the Information Technology at NIH, about its findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable program, data science program. Some of the data are openly shared, some of the data are not shared that openly, but we need to change the culture of data sharing because the future successes in innovation in healthcare strongly depends on that from my perspective. Analyzing that data. There are two different things here, data science and data analytics. Many people equate them. We're trying to separate these two things. For us, the data science is more like, if I can say, an expedition to get the new knowledge, to answer the unknown unknowns, and locate potential avenues and define the new studies. We're less concerned about specific answers. When we're talking about data analytics, that's more applicable to the daily routine of the healthcare people. That's where the contributions to innovations in healthcare happen. You're kind of trying to solve the known unknowns and find the data that you can act upon immediately. And it's very important from my perspective. NIH's heart is a research organization. Our job, my job for years, was to enable the better research environment. And again, generally the goal of NIH is to increase the speed of the scientific discovery and delivery of the new drugs, new therapies from the lab to the bedside as quickly as it possibly can be. But with this fast technology-enabled world, some lines and some boundaries are being removed to the degree. This is an example of one of the initiatives that we are doing in our institute, where we run the initiative, we call it CB Portals, where we have data collected from the variety of the different sites across the world, but the data is globally available. designed as a tool to improve tuberculosis research, it's a good example of how this thing can be applied in the healthcare even today. The tool allowing you to upload your data. So in this particular slide, I'm showing you can pick, the X-ray image, upload it, and got, from the algorithm virtually immediately the set of the similar X-ray scans with the full data history of how the treatment was performed at the similar cases in many countries across the globe, examine the results, and therefore make a better informed decision for the patient that you are treating. The other thing that near and dear to my heart, and I think contains a tremendous potential, is a virtual reality. I think this is the thing that's going to revolutionize science and going to revolutionize the healthcare delivery. This is a picture taken a few months ago at the Vaccine Research Center. The people on the background, the images are not a very, but I can tell you, the person on the far left is John Mascola, Dr. John Mascola, director of the NIH Vaccine Research Center. Right behind him, Dr. Francis Collins, NIH director. Dr. Fauci right in the middle, and I don't know if you can recognize the guy who is wearing free VR glasses. No? Nobody? It's a Bill Gates. Okay? This is the demo that we did for him at the Vaccine Research Center. Can you please play the video? It's on the slide. I cannot push it from here. No? Here it is. So the example here is he is examining this structural biology example, protein docking, happening here. Very short video. In fact, he was so impressed after coming back here on the blog how virtual reality helps science discover new treatments. So it's available online. This is another thing that I would like to show. It's another short video here. Now, I cannot control it from here, unfortunately, so I will ask them to play the video, so I cannot pause it in the spaces where I wanted to pause it. But do me a favor, pay attention on that screen that you see. Can you start playing it, please? So this is Dr. Fauci, this is Phil Cruz, who is here, demonstrating virtual reality. See, there is a picture of another person on that flat screen. So, a few minutes into the video, you will see this again, the same protein docking. It's actually hemagglutinin, and they look at it. See the guy in the yellow shirt on the right side of the picture. He is also wearing those pre-DH wipes. What is happening here? What is happening here is seeing an example of collaboration in the virtual reality world. It doesn't matter they're in the same room, right? They're connected in the virtual world, so for all practical purposes, they can be thousands of miles apart as long as your network is here. But this gives two scientists, and again, there is no sound, but it was a fascinating conversation because both of them are structural biologists by trade, and the conversation was very, very interesting. How you can collaborate in those virtual worlds across the miles and miles. So molecular visualization gives a lot of interesting approaches to the sciences to find those certain unique points of the structures and drug binding pockets that are impossible to see in any other environment. From the perspective, and again, I'm trying to get to the topic of this conference, health innovation and impact. There is a whole set of tools now available for the medical imaging visualization. The database that I showed you on for the TV portal in tuberculosis, we now can take the CT scan of the patient, move it to the virtual reality, and in many countries they still operate tuberculosis, just for your information. The surgeon actually can do a walkthrough for the lungs, see where the actual damage is, and therefore better perform the surgery. So, now imagine this for a second, okay? Imagine a 5G connected Internet of medical things, transmitting patient consent and health data via blockchain to a virtual research organization for the data analysis using artificial intelligence on a high-performance computing and visualization in the virtual reality, augmented reality, virtual reality environment. I don't know about you, I always have to scratch my head when I'm presenting this slide, right? This is reality. This is here, this is now, okay? And this is where we all moving with this, moving ahead. How we do to go to get all of this? Well, there are many ways how to do this. I mentioned at the beginning, we are here to open the African Center of Excellence in bioinformatics and data-intensive science. So that's one of the ways of doing this. The vision for the African Center of Excellence is a threefold: education, postgraduate training, and then the whole idea here is to have a full-blown service center to work with the scientists and providers, healthcare providers, all across the region here. So I have a few more slides, but in the interest of time, I'll stop right here. Probably just in a conclusion, the thing that I'm trying to make, the same way as the research tools. Data center now is a research tool. The science, modern science, and modern healthcare is now impossible without the huge computing resources. In fact, 75% of all modern protocols require computation at some point, and the projection is that it will grow to 100% in the next 5 years. So I'll stop at this point, and thank you, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.